the beginning of it all again, the wholeness. It equals up to the all, right? The all. The all is that there's the past, the present, and the future, but it's all happening in this present moment. It's the perfect perspective. The harmony, the purpose, the understanding why things are happening. That is, something that the present moment allows me to be focused and allowing my energy to be directed in the present moment because I know it's connecting to my wholeness and to the allness, right? And we're going to break down this wholeness on different levels, right? We're going to break down in the small level of starting out is we're going to talk about the mind, the body, and the spirit because those three have to be connected for you to be in wholeness, but also each individual one has to be in wholeness before it can realign thyself in the proper position for the present moment so you can have a pleasure out of the experience. So we're going to talk about the pleasure and pain of being God later on in the show, but right now we're just talking about how to reach the wholeness, and that's going to be having the pleasure and the pain on both ends. So with the mind and realigning the mind to be in wholeness is that you have to be able to focus your thoughts and know how to not let your thoughts become your mind. And I don't want you to sound confusing, but your mind and your thoughts are two separate things, and you have to be the one there observing and balancing out what goes into the mind, how much goes into the mind, what frequency and what level of awareness you had when all this was intaking. Because if you don't, then things are stored in a way to the ego, and the subconscious uses what you have in the mind against you. And we'll talk about that in another time. But also, when we're talking about the body has to be in wholeness with the mind, but before it can, it has to be getting the proper nutrients, exercise, yoga or stretching or energy transferring techniques so that the mind is in wholeness with the body. And so these things have to be connected. And then we talk about the spirit, being in wholeness and just having faith in the direction that you're going is going to not only work in your favors, but you walked in confidence knowing that it was going to work in your favors, right? So with all that saying, that's like the small level of the wholeness that we're going to be talking about, that this new beginning is setting up for us all again, And when we talk about that, we're going to look at how do we get to this new beginning, depending on where we're at in life. So I'm just going to walk us in small steps, and you can see where you fit and where you see yourself in the walk. But just know that in the beginning, for those that's just starting, it's going to start out of silence. Silence, it brings the all together. You can hear all your distractions from just one moment of silence. And that's going to be a very key tool on you moving forward in your direction, is being in silence to see where the distractions are coming from, to allow you to do your work in that present moment, to balance yourself out so that you move according to the rhythm and time that's in the present moment. A little bit about the pleasure about being God is that there's no confusion, there's no doubt, right? Complete clarity is about, everything in complete clarity. And you want to just be able to continue that on, and each day that you come to start out, but we don't always have that same rhythm of God. Or we don't have that same frequency of our higher selves when we start our day out. So these are some things that we just do checkpoints to make sure that we are in alignment, so that we are receiving the pleasures of God. On the next level of the wholeness, you have to look at the relationships that you have, right? Because in this realm, in this part of life that we're in, relationships are in our daily life. So we have to understand how to become in whole with all our relationships and not split or divided, no matter what type of relationship it might be. And that's even with the different realities that we live in, or we have to exchange our energy in, because we all have our own reality set on our thoughts and our beliefs, but we also is in a society and in a community where we deal with other physical realities of other cultures, other people of that sort. And so we have to become in wholeness with that as well. And in this time of doing that, we don't want to fight, we want to love. And this energy is letting us do whatever we choose to do, and it's going to be felt the way we choose and have intentions to do it with. So, you know, if you fight, you're going to really have to fight. It's not going to be no small fight. And when you love a little, it's like a big love right now, because everybody that receives your love can feel how much in the intentions that you sent with that love. So that's a real key part of our decision making that we go forward in the present moment, because we're setting the tone for this new beginning. And I know people are in alignment with it, so we're in good hands, but we have to just remind ourselves on where the balancing out of our daily actions that we take have to be in the direction of the wholeness and not in the oneness or the individual that we used to think, which I know you're not thinking like that because our conscious level is not even allowing us to get to that frequency, but we do want to stay at the speed of frequency that we can project, so that everyone around us, including ourselves, continue to benefit from this new beginning, right? And I want to talk about a little bit how everything that's living is God going unnoticed. Everything living is God going unnoticed. And that's one thing that I'm starting to not only witness, but experience. And that's another way that I'm feeling this wholeness, bringing me in this period where those around me, or those on the news, or those that I work with are focused on the division of life. And right now, this beginning is telling me that it's the wholeness of myself that's going to keep the balance for me to go forward, and not only my life, but in others. And when we talk about how the living things of God go unnoticed, it's because what are you looking at in the present moment? Are you looking at the problems of your life? Are you thinking about the solutions of the problems that you think that you're facing in your life? Are you taking in just each breath with the scenery? Because just the scenery and each breath will tell you a lot about what you could be doing at that present moment, thinking in that present moment. Because a lot of this just deals with being on the right frequency at the right timing. And we're going to talk about the timing, but right now it's just you don't have to be able to tell when it's going to be the perfect time or make the perfect prediction. Even though I know those people are favored and always looked upon as being better than others because they make the perfect prediction and they can tell you what's coming next and all these things. But that's not what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to notice that everything living around us is God, and we want to treat it with that presence, right? We want to not go by it and not acknowledge it and recognize it and make sure that it's vibrating at the rhythm of God's speed, of the universe timing, and not on their timing or other timings, right? It's so much to talk about when we talk about time, and we might as well jump into that right now, because when you talk about the time, you're looking at the clock, right? And in the beginning of this period of time that's coming to an end, the clock was there made for confusion. And the confusion that the clock brought was that we had to be on a certain time or on someone else's time to get and receive what we had already had worked for, or something that we already had coming to us by our attraction of our frequency. And being that they were still in our energy and and tapping into our frequency, the clock and the time played a major distraction. But that is now what you could say coming to an end now, because time is being redefined with each present moment that we set and have our thoughts in order. We're setting a new time frame into action. So that moves on. Let's move on to the calendar that we deal with on a 30-day cycle, 31-day cycle, 28-day cycle, depends on which month. These things are all part of the confusion of all the things that comes with the pain of being God. Because with this confusion, it's offsetting who we are and who we are in this present moment, because we're trying to fit in some other time. And we've been doing that for years, and we continue to do that. And we're going to continue to do that by just looking at the world in a north, south, west, east type of angle. So there's a lot for us to shift and move. And that's what the physical reality is I'm talking about. That's like the mid-level of the wholeness part of where this new beginning is all realigning thyself, right? So we could talk about the roles. The roles are the titles that we take and play in our relationships, because those are very confusing into who we are and how we express ourselves in a daily practice. So a lot of these things are what we have to become in wholeness with. We have to see that shadow side of our present moment and be aware that if it's a living thing, then we have to bring that a part of the moment. And if it's something that has dead weight and it's negative energy, then we also have to know that it's there, creating an undertone. And that's just being aware of the wholeness. You know, that's not trying to identify and see everything for what it is, right? So there's some things that this Western side of the world likes to project. And one of the things they like to project about the number 13, they like to connect bad energy to the number 13 on the Western view. And I feel like, we need to talk about the number 13 for a second because that is God likes energy. And for the number 13 to be looked upon as bad energy on any side of the world or planet, that needs some redefines. It needs to be redefined and needs to be, I know it's already been on the record and corrected that the number 13 is a powerful number and represents the energy of God, one of the highest states of the mind, of the conscious. And they don't want us to believe or use that number in the times, in the present moment, because they claim that it's due to bad luck. And they have so many different events that they talk about that put the bad energy on number 13. We're not going to really discuss too much on those, but those are the reason why the number 13 gets a bad rap, is because how powerful that energy is. So that number 13 is something that you want to definitely tap into as much as possible. And we'll talk about that when we talk about numerology on another show. But as we talk about and redefine the days, and I say the days, I no longer look at my days being connected to anything spelled with a WEEK. I no longer identify with that. So when I talk about strong days, each strong day that we have is going to be reflected on the numerology number system, and then how that number is ruled by a certain set of other energies like the planet and days of the week. Is more of something that I'm not going to be focusing on now, because the power is in the rhythm of what each day brings. And that's why we use numerology to break down what number we're dealing with. Like today it's the number 17, so it'll be a number 8 day. And then we will be dealing with that energy and what planet rules over 8, and look at where that planet is and be able to see where that planet house, what house that planet's in. And then that's how we can get a real insight on what the day energy could be like. And that's a little bit of astrology, a little bit of numerology, and that's how I kind of maneuver with, and that's how the number 13 is very important in my studies. But another reason why 13 is very important, because there was ancient studies that connected the turtle to the 13, and it was because of the large plates that's on the turtle back represents lunar cycles and the full moons of the year. So that was another way that they kept track of the full moons, was with the turtle. And so we also know that North America was known as Turtle Island for the stability, for the connection to the Earth time cycle. Like this land is very sacred on the western side, and so they try to detach us from the energy and the vibration that's very strong to us, that's on this side of the world, compared to all the other ways that they try to describe the number 13. But yeah, that was something that I wanted to speak to you about, that no need to, we just had, I think, a Friday the 13th that passed. And yeah, those are days where the energy is very, very alive, very, very God-like energy. So, and that's, around the same time we're in now. So that's why I'm here just to let you know that this new beginning of it all is a real pleasure of witnessing what these God like-minded people are vibrating, and I say vibrating because that's what I'm on. I don't see everything that everyone else see. If and I say that to say it's like when I look into the eyes of someone, I'm looking into the cosmos, I'm looking into their universe, and then I'm able to see what energy they have going on and how beautiful life is to them. That's how I see it when I look in the eyes of others, and I know if you get a glance of how and how my universe is going, then you'll also see that the pleasure of God is definitely surrounding me as I walk through my days. I see the pleasure of God. So, and that's just dealing with, the ability to shape my reality, to create the worlds around me that have life-meaning things, relationships that define where I'm going in life. Not reaching out, but being able to connect with communities that really help impact not only my life, but those around me. That gives me, more harmony, more purpose to what I'm already doing. There's a lot that I see from the pleasures of God, but just like any other person, I also have to balance out the pains of God. And that's, the feeling of not being equal, right? There's times where I feel unvalued and it doesn't have to do with myself, but something that other physical realities try to shape around me and try to negotiate relationships due to how they see my value, but that's not the case. The pain of losing family members, loved ones, that's something that we all face and have to balance out and not be in fear of that, but to really, I want to say, come in wholeness with that, understand that the reason why they're taking their rest in the transition is because there's a rebirth for them happening. So that's a celebration, that's a ceremony in a way. And we can look at it, in ways that we look at things in dark ways. We can look at things with light on them to understand them much more better now, right? Because we are our own universe. We are sharing certain powers with each other. So I'm just sharing you what some of the things that I'm working on and how I'm doing it. So it might be something that you can see yourself or already been doing and relate to. It's something that we all are just letting things, unfold without being in this way, causing any disturbance, right? So that was a little bit about the pleasures of being God. This is the show of the beginning of it all. Again, I hope everyone out there enjoyed it. Stay tuned. We have a lot more conversations going on about energy and how to just stride through this present moment, because it's a great time to be just using your energy to move forward. All you need is your energy to move forward. It's very needed in the world for others to see that you can do it. We all are cheering for those that's working for a higher consciousness, higher vibrations, higher frequencies, no status involved, just raising up the vibration, keeping everyone accountable. And with that said, Rafiki Angru Ashe, tell my family, friends, and loved ones out there, and have a great March.